Wendy is a secondary school teacher, and several years ago she taught Katrina. Katrina's academic results were average. After graduating, she enrolled in a higher diploma program, with social work as a major. Back then, Katrina openly said that she didn't particularly like social work. Wendy thought she was holding her transcript and shuttling between the admissions requirements of different institutions, unable to decide what else she could study. So she used social work as a backup option and took things one step at a time. One day, Wendy contacted a group of former students, including Katrina, and asked about their recent lives. After graduating from her diploma program, Katrina worked for an NGO in the social welfare sector, and in just 2 or 3 years, saw many of the industry's dark sides. What she talked about most was chasing numbers. Organizations often pursue performance targets while ignoring the real needs of the people they serve. This is a situation that people with some social experience can often hear about or witness. Another thing that made Katrina even more discouraged was that the organizations had to look for opportunities to support the government through methods such as holding events and producing publicity materials in order to obtain a certain tranche of government funding. After hearing Katrina's story, Wendy summarized her state of mind as disheartened. What is strange is that Katrina has already applied for a part-time degree program in social work, and she will continue working at the organization while studying, still developing herself in the direction of social work. Wendy didn't hear anything in either her studies or work experience that increased Katrina's affection for social work. So is Katrina now pressing ahead of this path out of self-discipline and resilience? Or is she simply having no choice and taking the backup route again, or even walking straight to ordeal? If we analyze Katrina's situation from a social perspective, there is a great deal to say. In recent years, many people have studied it and even predicted that the generation about to enter the labor market will face unprecedented hardship. People who have been in the workforce for a long time can feel these difficulties too. This is something brought on by the times. Regardless of age or position, people can't reverse the overall course of history. There is a saying, if the mountain doesn't move, change the road. If the road can't be changed, the people change. Whether to change or not, or to change in which direction is a choice. Before making a choice, one must first judge, and what that judgment is based on is worth deep thought. Many people judge whether a decision is appropriate by looking at the result. That is reasonable. For instance, when investing in stocks, the purpose is to make money. If buying shares in a company brings in profit, that is called the correct decision. If it loses money, that is the wrong one. In choosing a spouse, if the couple live harmoniously, love each other deeply, remain compatible, and stay together until old age, people call that a happy marriage, and it is seen as the right decision. If they constantly clash, have no peace at home, or even end in divorce, people call that a failed marriage, and it is seen as the wrong decision. We are used to assuming that an action has a specific goal, then selecting the means to achieve that goal. When the result appears, we examine whether the means achieved the intended goal and use that to judge right and wrong. People tend to seek good fortune and avoid disaster, so judging decisions this way naturally becomes a consequentialist approach. What brings benefits is right, and what brings harm is wrong. Again, to reiterate, the reasoning above is reasonable and can be seen as an important path by which human civilization has continued to this day. But there is more worth considering than that. Very few people, when judging whether a decision is right or wrong, also judge whether the basis for making that decision is correct. Using the examples of investing and marriage above, most people focus on whether a stock makes or loses money in order to decide whether the choice was right or wrong. Far fewer ask what factors were considered when buying that stock, whether those considerations were comprehensive, or whether the relative importance of each factor was assessed accurately. Likewise, people usually look at how often a couple quarrels, whether their interests match, and how deep their feelings are, then infer from the state of the relationship whether the two are suited to spend their lives together. Far fewer examine how each person views marriage before tying the knot. how they planned their future path, or why they wanted to get married in the first place. In short, we place great emphasis on whether the outcome is good or bad, and easily neglect whether the process that led to the outcome was appropriate. Everyone learned mathematics as children, and we were told that the answer is not the only thing that matters. We also need to understand the principle and make sure the calculation process is correct. Yet as adults, we still casually connect the initial question and the final answer in a straight line, whereas concepts, logic, and the calculations all vanish beneath piles of assignments. Life is full of uncertainty, and many people, despite their best efforts, still fail to obtain the result they want. Setting aside that frustration for the moment, another direction is to re-examine the basis, habits, and tendencies behind one's decisions. Some people, before deciding, gather a great deal of relevant facts and data. Only what they regard as objective can put them at ease. Some people act according to feeling and mental state, untangling emotional complex and fulfilling their wishes. Some people have no self-contained rationale at all, and instead collect other people's ways of doing things. Rather than planning from scratch, they prefer ready-made strategies that others have already tried. Each method had its own characteristics, and I'm not going to say which is better or worse. Understanding the basis behind our actions gives us one more chance to reflect on whether the path by which we make decisions can really lead to the destination we want. The American political philosopher Michael Sandel's "Justice Was the Right Thing to Do" presents a number of moral dilemmas and leads readers to think about what standards they use to judge ethical issues. Sandel doesn't state his personal views, nor does he try to solve those dilemmas. Instead, he repeatedly asks, "Why is this right? Why is this wrong? And is there anything wrong with using this standard to decide right and wrong?" In this way, he helps us refine our thinking and spot the loopholes in our judgment. When making life choices and planning the road ahead, it is also worth going through such a correction process. If one understands what one truly longs for and resolves to act accordingly, then even if the final results fall short of expectations, it's easier to remain at peace and avoid obsessing over gains and losses. If you have any idea or like this video, please comment, like, subscribe and share. I'll be grateful if you support me on Patreon or Substack, making us go even further. See you on the next video.